We're here with Trader Cobb and we're talking about the big triangle of Bitcoin moving, Bitcoin Cash changes and the forks, a bit of Stellar and a bit of Brave Attention Token. We'll see you guys right after this. Welcome back, guys. I'm here joined with Trader Cobb, a man who obviously doesn't need that much of an introduction, but I'm going to give you an introduction, Craig. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you.
You've been obviously trading the decade of experience in different financial markets. Mm-hmm. Worked in New York, London, New York Stock Exchange, Chicago Mercantile Exchange, and the Intercontinental Exchange. That's ICE.
ICE.
Yeah, very cool.
Continent for all of them. Yep.
Which is very, very cool. Now runs his own platform, tradercobb.com, obviously dedicated to educational courses, which is really, really cool. And also you host your own show, Trader Cobb Podcast.
Yep.
Which should hit #1 on iTunes.
We did.
Which is very cool.
Yep.
And Cobb, this is obviously your second appearance back. Actually, I think it's your third.
I think it's number 3. Yeah.
Number 3.
Yeah.
Back on the Daily Exchange. Now, we want to talk about if anyone is interested in checking out Trader Cobb's actual course. There's an incredible new comparison we've put together on Finder. You can see here, it's finder.com/cryptocurrency-courses, and you can get a special discount here, 10% off for the trading courses, which is very, very cool and very kind to our community here.
And 15% for packages.
And 15% for packages. Thank you so much, Craig, for offering that for our community.
No worries. Pleasure.
Moving on, guys, talking about prices now in the market. How would you say we're sort of feeling the market? Where's your sort of sentiment? Where's the trend right now, would you say, Craig?
Well, short term, there's a little bit of positive momentum starting to be sort of spring up across the top 10. Bitcoin's still within a range between 68.31 and 6,100. It's been there for quite some time. It remains still within that range. Until we sort of break out of that range, the market still looks like it needs a bit of a hero. I can show you a chart, so I can show you what I'm talking about.
We've got some fanciness going on today, guys, on the show. We've got two computers.
There we go.
Two.
Right, so that range I'm talking about here is between the support running through here at 6,100, and you've got a bit of resistance up here as well. I'm completely discounting this spike, the madness that was tether weather. And we crept back down. We've just been hanging out in this range. Now, with that being said, we can go to the 4 hour and you see higher, low, higher, high, pulling straight back into the cradle zone, which we'll talk about later when you ask me a specific question. And it's right where I like to be trading from. So we can get intraday trades, intraday trends within markets that don't carry a lot of momentum on the daily. And that's sort of what I'm focusing on. And across the top 10, we are seeing most of the activity in the markets in the top 10 at the moment based upon the volume that's coming in. So for me, that looks like more mature money, or money leaving alts and going to, I guess, wrong word, but safer havens, perhaps.
Right. In a high level, we've got sort of this descending wedge. Joel, I'm not sure if you want to bring this up. Very, very, zooming way out. It's been going on, you would say, what, for quite a few months now?
Kicking off. I mean, the lows were the low of the year, which was back in June. So the last sort of, what was that, 5 months now? 4 or 5 months. The thing is that actually, Joel, if you could chuck up my screen, I'll give a bit more perspective on this, because the issue that I've got with this is that people saying, oh, look at the lower highs, oh, it's bearish. No, it's because your emotions are getting involved and you might have come down from the highs and it might not feel so good. A feeling is an emotion. The reality is that we have a series of, let me just clear out some of these bits and pieces from past trades. Where's the delete button on this bloody thing? Oh, there. If you get rid of this and this, what you can actually see is, yep, lower high, lower high, lower high. Ignore this, lower high. But if you're going to look at the charts and read a chart and call lower highs, you've also got to have the reality and go, well, there's a higher low, a higher low, a higher low. So there's, we're still flipping a coin here. What is positive is that we've been consolidating and we haven't broken this range just yet. And if we were to break it now, we'd be divergent on that MACD and therefore we might see it reverse. But you know what? It's too early to call right now. We've got that range. That's all I'm concerned, or that's all I'm considering at the minute, is between that sort of 6100 and 6830.
68.30.
So you've got to look at both sides of it. You can't just go, oh, my theory is lower highs, therefore lower. You could also reverse that just as equally relevant and say there's higher lows, so therefore we'll go higher.
Yeah.
We are sideways.
I guess we're going to talk about this, but coming up, there is quite a bit of news coming out, and in December 12th, we've got backed. We've got coming out with physically settled futures, which is a big deal.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that in a second. I think that's the kind of news. I think that's where everyone's sort of trying to figure out where we're going to go on that. But just before that, do you have the longs and shorts we could bring up and just talk through quickly? Shorts obviously have been declining quite a bit, quite steadily, you would say.
Yep.
And longs also, I guess, kind of declining, or
they're consolidating to slightly growing. To the
potentially
upside.
slightly growing. Would you say that's a reversal potentially in trend?
Well, there's a higher low, there's a higher high, only just though. The thing is, like, I don't pay much attention to these. All right. Why? Because have a look at the price of Bitcoin. Okay, here's the same thing, same time frame, daily chart. If anything, that replicates a little bit the longs, but not massively. Look at the shorts. There's absolutely, like, just because that's tanking doesn't mean that, I mean, if you were to consider this as an indicator, you'd go, well, then Bitcoin should be flying. But clearly it's not. So it's an analysis paralysis tool for me personally. Others, I'm sure, out there have got their own way of doing things and they can extrapolate the information to suit them. But for me, it's a non-issue. I'm not.
You don't consider it an indicator?
No. Not for how I trade.
Yeah.
But don't forget, there's literally hundreds or thousands of indicators out there. I just stick to what I use, and other people will use this and will have success with it. It's just, for me, it's just not, it's just noise. It's like, you know, another shiny little thing that you can jump on if you wish to, or you can stay focused and get the job done.
Excellent. Let's move on, I guess, from the longs and shorts, talking about backed.
Yeah.
Not really a thing. Backed coming in December 12th, physically settled Bitcoin. And then in February, we've got another round of ETF decisions.
Yeah.
Which is of a major potential. And then we've got, down the line from that, we've got 2020, we've got the next block reward halvening. Joel, I believe we've got a little clip for everyone that we went through a few weeks ago on the show. Joel, if you want to spin that, so just to remind everyone when we were talking about the halvening, and I think it's a good explanation. First halvening here, obviously the Bitcoin price, it pulled back. You can see here, halvening happened, Bitcoin price went up. The second halvening happened in July 2016. You can see here, price came down, halvening happened, price went up. The third halvening, which we're talking about, is potentially going to happen around this May 2020 mark. Now, this is a critical date. Now, you can see potentially that a lot of these prices have sort of pulled back a bit and then gone up. You know, what this potentially is forecasting is Bitcoin going to dip back down to around $3,000 US before the next halvening, which will lead to the next big spike, which could end up being around $160,000 per Bitcoin. So, Craig, from that, we're looking at potentially a low of around 3,000 in October 2019. And then 1st of May 2020, the halvening, potentially going up to a $160,000 mark for Bitcoin. Obviously, then there's potentially a pullback and things like that as well. But, you know, what do you think about this in terms of this analysis and this trend and this halvening? Does this factor into your trading?
No, but I liked the way you did it. It was good. Well done. Good content. But to sort of talk about a couple of things, again on my charts, there's a line drawn here at 3,000. If we do break to new lows this year, that's the next strong level, so that matches up. So on my charts, with that support being there, which is this line down here, you can see, you know, this was the resistance that broke last year. We retested it, and from there we went, you know, gangbusters. We are in this consolidation period. I just, you know, I try not to think too much. I just read what I see on the charts. Remember, I'm a trader. I'm not a fundamentals guy. For me, there's a lot of really good stuff coming out. To go and more than halve from where we are right now to 3,000. I mean, we've weathered a storm this year, and look, we could go lower. I've been wrong many times before, and I'm not suggesting we're definitely going to go higher from here or definitely going to go lower, because until the chart tells me something, I just sit and wait for it. But it's a long way to go to get to 3,000. With so much going on in the background, with backed, with the ICE future, with backed being backed by ICE. Settling in Bitcoin, we haven't seen that before. It's not just a derivative; it's actually settled in something. We've got also the ETF coming out. That'll probably get rejected. That's fine. I don't see that as an issue.
So Alex Kruger, he's got a tweet out right now, Joel, if you want to bring this up. This is how he expects it sort of to play out. I guess a little bull, he's calling a little bull market run on backed, and then a renewed ETF approval narrative in 2019. Then the ETF gets denied, so it's a bit of a crash, going below 6K to 4K. And then the halvening comes back and we readjust and lead to a sustained bull run for the next 2019, 2020. So it's kind of following out potentially that trend. But you never know, this is just a one person's opinion, right?
Who is he?
Yeah. I guess, what do you think of his prediction?
I think predicting markets is a mug's game. Good on him for having a crack. But I mean, how can you predict the most volatile and emotional market in the world? Let's do our own prediction. I think Bitcoin will be at $1 million by 2023. I think it could be at $50,000 by, we can just make up numbers and fit whatever we want. It doesn't mean anything. I think people will focus too much on what other people are saying as opposed to what they're actually doing. And, I was in Dubai recently at this amazing event, and it was full of business people looking to implement blockchain, as opposed to people walking around with a Pokemon doll on their shoulder, craving attention and being just a bit odd, which is fine. I've got nothing against that. But what I'm saying is a much more professional audience, much more professional people, and everything there. And none of these people are trying to predict price. They're working within the infrastructure and ecosystem that is already there and building out projects and doing things to help us move forward. Sitting there putting a tweet out, it gets you a lot of attention, and that's what he wants. He's on social media for the attention. Right. I don't put any weight in that comment whatsoever. I'd love him to be right in the sense that we move higher, and I'm a strong believer in the space. But I mean, the thing is that he'll probably change that in a month's time, and he'll do another one and another one and another one, like we keep saying. Like, we're saying 25,000 by the end of the year. Now it's 22.5. Now it's 15. Now it's 10. So, now we go down to 5.
We're talking a lot about, I guess, in here, a lot of that stuff can make you emotional. How do you not get emotional when trading? See this?
That's a plan. Plan your trade and trade your plan. And plan your investments. If you buy a token and invest, and you're not so much a trader, you need to know what to look for to get out. Whether that be, it might be once we get a listing on Coinbase or Binance. If that's your plan, get out. Make your money. Keep some in there if it's something you truly believe in long term, but get out, move back to Bitcoin, Ethereum, spread out across your portfolio, do whatever you do. But the big deal is to plan what you're doing, because if you don't have a plan, I said it to you before, mate, when have you ever made a good decision when you're emotional? And you don't. The only way when things start to get heavy, you plan it out first. So when I plan a trade, for example, I make it so simple that my partner can, if I drop dead tomorrow, she knows what to do. Because it's written down. I know what I'm going to do, because then I can't break my own rules on that. Now, variables change and things can change, but you can amend your plan, but it has to be a plan. That way you just execute. All the work is done before you press buy.
Right.
That's the most important thing. That's how you stay unemotional, by having a structured approach.
And how do you, I guess, what sort of signals and indicators do you use to trade?
For me, the most important is price action, which is the candlesticks that are on my charts. And then moving averages MACD. I keep it really simple. I mean, my charts are bare. I'm not one of these people that have all these words and lines and all sorts of crap everywhere. You'll notice I only use horizontal levels. I do not at all ever use diagonal sloping trend lines. I did for a long time. That was one of the things I had to, it was the last bad habit I had to get rid of, because I thought I could do it better. Because I'd move the trend line to fit what I wanted, and if you're trying to make the market do what you want, you'll get fried.
So maybe do you want to take us through, like, say with Bitcoin, like how you sort of looking at Bitcoin right now and using your sort of indicators? Maybe just talk us through where do you see where we're at and with that.
I'll take it to. I mean, right now we
were talking about Bitcoin Cash, but weren't we as well? There's some interesting movements in that. Do you want to talk about that one?
I'll show both because there's examples for both. So for Bitcoin, as I said, we've been in a range that remains the same. On the 4 hour, this is what I call a midterm time frame because it's a multiple of 4 and we get or a multiple of 6 when we get to 24 hours. Below 4 hours, lower time frames. Mid is 4, 8, 12, 16. They're the time frames I trade. If you have a look here, there's a higher low, higher high. So trend. What's price action telling me? You got to remember, there's a buyer and there's a seller, and there's a constant war between these two. If the buyers win, the market moves up. If the sellers win, the market goes down. It's simple stuff. It's not, the indicators are saying no. At the end of the day, there's a buyer, there's a seller. You've got two choices. You buy, you sell, you do nothing, you sit out. That's it. There's nothing more to consider. So every bit of information you're trying to take on board needs to come to an outcome of buy or sell or stay out.
Yep.
That's it. So the trend is saying we're in an uptrend, right? A pull back into this cradle zone with MACD convergence. So won't go into all the detail about what all that means, but essentially I've got everything I like here to suggest that I haven't got a trade here yet. It hasn't given me a cradle trade yet, but it may continue on to the upside because that's where momentum is right now on this midterm time frame. Now to come to Bitcoin Cash and give you that example, people in Bitcoin Cash that are holding it right now because of the fork, that's why they're holding it. If you were in on Bitcoin Cash, and I'll show you again, here's that horizontal level. I had this drawn in before this happened because we saw it as support. We were looking for shorts into it as there was a trend. Hit the low and it's rocketed from there. Now, if you're holding it to get the other, whatever the crappy token's going to be, they usually fizzle out pretty hard after, from my experience.
So that's like all the Bitcoin Gold, Bitcoin
Diamond, blah, 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 blah.
Bitcoin Private.
Yeah. Then, it mightn't be a bad time. Like if you're a trader and you don't care about the token, look at that move you've got. We're very overextended. Have a look at how far, and when I say overextended, I mean from the moving averages here. And that for me, it's like a rubber band. It will come back.
Yes.
Markets will pull back into that area. Look, even downtrend. Moved back in, moved away in, moved away in, moved away in, moved away. I trade around that level. So we're massively overextended. I'm not going to be trading Bitcoin Cash for a while after this run. But yeah, it's look how clean my charts are. There's, I don't have text everywhere. I don't have lines going and colors and all that. I use Fibonacci, MACD, moving averages, price action, bada bing, done.
Cool. And then, in terms of your 3 trading tools, if you could only use 3 of them for the rest of your life, what would they be?
Price action, Fibonacci. One more would be moving average. I want to have 2 of them, so I'd have to say MACD. But I could happily go without MACD if I've got price action and Fibonacci.
Do you want to talk about, with how you use your Fibonacci? Because you were talking about Ripple just before as well, and you were very interested in that.
Let me show you.
You were quite interested in how it's moving right now, and there was a bit of a delay, I guess, with Ripple recently up 9%, and I think you were spotting a trade, Craig, just before that. It still seems to be
she's moving.
Yeah, on a good move. If you want to bring up this trade right now, I guess this graph. Sorry. You can see Ripple is definitely on the attack.
Which one was it I was looking at? Ripple against... I'm still stalking trades here. It's just not slowing up. This is what I was looking at this morning. I must have accidentally got rid of my Fibonacci numbers. Let me show you. It just keeps on pushing on. I was hoping to buy it here, and here's why. This is one of my strategies called the Fibonacci booster. You need to have a double cluster of sorts, and that level there, depending on how well I've drawn that. Yeah, pretty close. You can see the 61.8, which is a buying for me in that zone, and the old horizontal support and resistance. Couple of tests there, 2 tests equals, and that's fine. I was hoping for it to bounce in here. As a matter of fact, my order's still live. I had to raise the order before I came in here this morning. My order's still live. Obviously, I'm going to cancel that order because it's broken to new highs. But you just got to find ways to enter. Now, this has happened many times before where you get the direction right, but you don't get the entry. What are you going to do? Cry? Chase it? Don't do either. Wait for the next one. There's always going to be opportunities. And right now, that opportunity for me on something like Ripple, this is against Bitcoin, of course, I can now go down to these lower time frames again and see, although probably unlikely, I can extend my fib from here to here. Of course, it's still mid-move. And then I do another one to go for my cluster level from here to here. Don't worry if this is confusing, you can learn something like this later. And you'll note the 38.2 and the 61.8 are both in a rough cluster zone there. So potentially if it starts to pull back, that might be a nice area to start buying again. So it's just knowing, and then look, if I look at Ripple against the dollar, up 3.4%, same thing here, guys. Notice how it pulled back into this cradle zone that I talk about, the moving averages. Pulled back in, run. Didn't quite get back in before the next run. It's just about positioning and having a plan.
But it's definitely.
On how to do it. I mean, look at that. Perfect. Bang in. Whew,
still seems to be moving as well right now.
She's not slowing down.
Tell us, in this trend right now, like you could see Ripple there. It's probably something you'd want to. Your emotions want to chase it right now, right? It's kind of it feels that way. How do you stop your emotions from taking over in a moment like this, Craig?
Go back to your checklist. Go back to your plan. You've got to know what you're looking. So, okay, the best way to do it, in my view, and how I teach people is, a lot of people will go to the market and look for a trade, and they'll find one because they want one, right? You want to trade. That's the fun part. That's the sexy bit about trading. It's not all the crap that makes you successful. It's taking the trade. I do it the other way around. So every day I do a top 100 scan with my live trading floor and VIP members and go through the full top 100. I'll go through all the margin pairs, which are all the Bitfinex pairs. As you can see here, a full list. I make a watch list by putting those little red stars. That's the list I scan. And then I go through and do another list where I go through all the top 100 Bitcoin pairs. Now, what I'm doing in this scan is I'm looking for things not to trade. Every single chart I look at, I'm looking for reasons not to trade. Now, if I get to a point where, based on my checklist, I go, okay, like with the Ripple one, I said to the guys, I've got no reason that I should leave that alone. I'm raising the order. And I did. So it's a process of elimination. I'm not looking for trades. I'm letting the market come to me, and I have the power, I have the keys, I've got the rules. And that's the difference.
Tell us, what are some of the mistakes you've made in the past? You talked about the no triangles. But obviously, you're a very seasoned trader.
Cocked up a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine. Is there something you could share that you've learned recently, even, or over time? The biggest ones.
The biggest one was you can't do it by yourself. I'm an entrepreneur, and I thought I'd just take that mentality into the markets. I'll just work it out. That took me nearly 18 to 24 months. Lost 3 accounts, which hurt because it cost me most of the money from a business I was running when I was 19. So that sucked. That was a big lesson. And don't think. So trade what you see, not what you think. Because if you think, the thinking tends to, if you think about it, right, I said the word, we can justify anything to ourselves. We're one of the only species in the world that has the ability to convince ourselves of absolute crap. Right? It either is or it isn't for other species. For us, we go, let me just, no, I'll take it. If you start thinking, you lose sight of the doing, and the doing should be structured. So don't think, do. Don't think is probably the other one that's most important recently, because thinking gets you in trouble.
No more thinking, more doing. In the past, you traded regular
traditional markets.
Yeah. And there's this big trend right now with security tokens. How do you think it's going to impact the cryptocurrency space?
Well, it depends on if they actually get listed somewhere where there's some volume. Because if they don't, it's going to take some time. That will happen. Like, you look, STOs right now are all the rage, but you ask yourself, where are they listed? Where's the volume? Is there any liquidity? So it's got to be a bit more of a longer play at the moment, in my view, because the space is still evolving. It will be, there's already an infrastructure there for regulation because it's a security. So that's good. That's a good thing. It could provide more liquidity for companies that may need it, good companies. So right now, a lot of people that are in crypto won't be going and searching for the next, what's it called, that pay, one of these, what's it called? Anyway, another great company that's done very, very well. If they're tokenized, more people might consider this. Now, that's not a great deal of people when you consider how many people are actually in crypto compared to who's outside of it, but it brings in a new set of liquidity. It's a digitized asset class now, and the custody will be with you, you'd have to imagine, okay?
100%.
So I don't see it as a bad thing. It helps a market that's already pre-existing to come into our market. It helps both markets if it's done properly. Where to from here will depend on what the companies that are creating those platforms do.
So we talked a lot about trading Bitcoin today, but obviously, I'm assuming you trade other coins as well. What are the main sort of alternatives or alts? I guess you call them alts these days. Are you sort of trading right now?
I much prefer to stick to the top 10 in Bitcoin, dollar, and Ethereum just because of volume, liquidity. But again, what I teach is to understand what the chart looks like. So I'm not going to look at the actual number of the token as far as daily volume. If we flick up the charts, let me show you something, right? This is my margin pairs list. If I show you, I look for smooth flowing trending charts. We look at something like Ethereum, okay? Smooth flowing, there's no gaps, just have a brain shot of that, a snapshot in your brain of that chart. And then let's go and have a look, and this is a 4-hour chart. Then let's have a look at something like this.
Right, big gaps.
Gappy, what this equates to me is I'm going to get slippage. I might not get the order fill where I want it. Slippage means I want to get filled here, and I get filled here. It doesn't, what it eventually equates to is more risk. So if you're trading, even on a small account, you'd be struggling to trade this with leverage, right? Which is the way I like to trade. Gappiness does affect you, non-smooth flowing charts like this one.
So that's the kind of features you look for, like smooth charts.
Compare that to that. That just says to me, this has volume, that does not. Volume, lack thereof, means slippage. Slippage means more risk means no thank you very much.
Makes sense.
It's a visual.
Are there any coins you prefer to sort of hold these days rather than actually trade right now?
Yeah, there are. I've been focusing a lot more of the investment portfolio in the higher echelons, so I thought that there might be a movement back into the more established tokens that have models that are out there and they've been present in the top 10 for quite some time. I started doing that a couple of months ago. It's turned out to, so far, touch wood, be the right thing, because if you look at the movement in the market at the moment, it's within the top 10 or 20. It's the more established projects that seem to be continuing on with getting attention.
Getting things done.
Yeah, and that could just be simply because alts are bleeding and people are leaving alts and going, well, let's just go back to these bigger dogs where we feel a little bit more comfortable. But there's nothing that I won't trade that I've invested in. There's just a different hat that I put on. I literally, if I own Cardano, I'll still trade it short. It doesn't matter. It won't change the way I see things.
100%. Obviously, just a reminder, guys, there is no financial advice. No financial advice on this show. None at all. Zero. just
education.
Just education and opinion only. Any coins that you're deciding to drop from your portfolio?
There hasn't been anything recently. In all honesty, it's probably because I've been extraordinarily busy doing other things, and perhaps I should have. There are certain tokens that we hold within our portfolio. I say we because it's the company portfolio, that we are waiting for certain things before we move out of those. Things have changed. We have our views of these things have changed as well. And we're looking to level our portfolio. Look, the thing is, I'm not going to hold a dead horse. I'd rather just get rid of it, even if there's hardly anything left. Some of the ICOs have been fried on from back in the last year. They're just so dead that it's really not worth the time. But there are some projects that it would be nice to see, get a nice move so we can exit them.
Obviously, guys, if you're loving Trader Cobb's advice, do check out his course. We've got a course discount code available on the cryptocurrency course comparison page. 10% off for trading courses and 15% off training packages, which is, again, very kind for Craig to bring that onto the show. Obviously, it's invaluable insight and something that any trader should, learn.
But it's not just a trader as well. I think that's where some people forget that how many people held on throughout the bull run last year and didn't sell. Something as simple as what I teach you may actually show you some of the things to look out for, that when things do go silly, scale out, lock in some of those profits, realize those profits. Otherwise, who wants to be a millionaire on paper? I want to be a millionaire on paper and in the bank account. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no point in being one or the other. Be smart. Don't make the same mistakes twice. We can show you some simple things to get you out prior to the inevitable. Markets do go up, markets do go down. Don't forget the down bit.
Moving on, I guess, talking about Bitcoin Cash right now. 15th of November, big date, when the fork is I guess, supposed to happen. Now, these forks happen apparently every 6 months. Every 6 months it forks. Twice a year, hard fork to implement changes. Now, there are two camps currently pitting against each other. We've got Craig Wright's N Cash versus Bitcoin ABC, apparently, right now. And this has seen an incredible move up of about 32% of Bitcoin Cash over the last week. Because obviously, people who hold Bitcoin Cash could potentially get two different coins afterwards. Now, whether or not the coins survive is really dependent about miners. Will the miners actually support the coin? Now, this is obviously, it's not actually really a 50-50 decision, really, is it? If it does 50-50, that's good for both coins.
Yep.
But what we've seen over time is that, I guess, some of these coins splinter off and then they kind of go and die. Whereas and they have their own chain, but the miners don't follow them and they stick with the main game. Now, Bitcoin Cash has seemed to be stronger and stronger and stronger. And I guess this is kind of an evolutionary Darwinian shedding of the skin process, which has made this group stronger and stronger and stronger over time. And it just seems to be people holding on, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to be dying, which is quite incredible. Volumes of Bitcoin Cash are up 4 times right now, 4 times, which is very unusual. And obviously it is proving to be significant. What do you make of all of this with the two competing chains?
Just noise. It's going to happen. It will happen. It's happened before. It'll happen again. I think you kind of wrapped it up in what you were just saying then, mate. I mean, people are sticking with Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin. There's the debate of which one's the real Bitcoin. I don't give two hoots about that. I'm not interested. I own both, so someone's going to win somewhere. It's a speculative asset, both of them. Who will win? It'll be decided in years to come, not days, not in a fork. I think we'll probably see history repeat itself as the new coin comes in and then goes poof, and Bitcoin Cash continues doing its thing.
So people get the new coin and they sell it off.
That's just based on prior experience. Like we've seen, look at Bitcoin Diamond right now. You know, look at Bitcoin Gold's hung on.
Yeah.
I'll give Bitcoin Gold some credit, but it's certainly not at the extent of Bitcoin Cash. No, I mean Bitcoin Cash is still sitting in the top 10 as it has been for, since forever, really, since it forked.
Yeah.
Bitcoin Gold not so much, and Bitcoin Cash I can trade a lot easier than Bitcoin Gold. I got smoked on Bitcoin Gold earlier in the year on a 2.5% loss as opposed to a 1% loss because of slippage. So, I'm happy to see the volumes increase across the entire market, so I got more things to trade. But I just think that we'll probably see history repeat itself. Could be wrong.
Do you ever think a coin could have forked itself to like oblivion? Like it literally just keeps forking and miners splinter off so far? Or do you think it actually consolidates them?
I don't know. I mean, there's potential for that, but miners want to make money. They're going to stick with where the risk is lowest. Now, if everyone sticks with Bitcoin Cash and it could just be as simple, we know it's better over there, but we're already set up. I mean, it could be something as simple as that. You know, we all know that there's Apple iPhones and Samsung's probably better, but we still work with Apple because we're used to it. Like that could be the sort of thought process that makes Bitcoin Cash the dominant leader and all these forks. Just something as simple as that. Like, I know Apple's are great computers. I don't use them because I can't be bothered relearning it. I use my PC for trading. I don't download anything, and you know, it ain't broke, don't fix it. From my point of view, I could be more efficient, maybe, but it could be as simple as that.
All right, moving on, I guess talking about the basic attention token, BAT has seen some recent moves up 34% this week, trading around 31 cents. Two pieces of news: the Brave browser, which supports the use of the BAT token. I actually use the Brave browser. I like the Brave browser because it doesn't have any ads.
Say Brave 10 times.
Brave browser.
Yeah, you fail.
Free giveaway have been seen with the BAT to users so they can tip their favorite publishers, which is kind of cool. And the second piece of news with BAT is that it just went on Coinbase Pro. That's a big deal, right? Onto GDAX, or what was GDAX, etc., etc. Which again could see it go further north. Do you have? Well, what do you think of the Brave attention token?
I mean, again, coming back and looking at the chart, there was opportunities. Like I was stalking a trade, if we can flick it back up, big dog. Back here. There we go. So look back here. Moved away. We had the resistance level in here. We're stalking along there. Was stalking a pullback. Didn't get it. Boom. Pull back in. Waiting for a cradle in there. Boom. Nice move. Look at this on the 4 hour though. Sorry, was it the 4 or the 8? Where are we? 482. Here. Look at that. I mean, this is the stuff that, you know, dreams are made of. Moved away, pulled back into that cradle zone, which I talk about all the time. Small bullish cradle, broke to the upside, and then bushka. I mean, if you consider that your risk, and this is where trading differs to hodling, right? My entry be there, my stop be there. This is a hypothetical. I'm not going to tell you whether I traded this or not. Actually, I don't think I did trade this one. But look, that's my risk multiple between here and here. That's a what? 15x on risk?
Yeah.
So you risk $100, you make 1,500. You risk 1,000, you make 15,000.
That's a big move.
Yeah, it is. And the opportunity, more importantly, the opportunity was there to be taken. So I love it. I mean, I actually passed comment when it started to trend to my members. I'm like, I don't think I've actually traded this token. Perhaps it's time, and that's what I was watching for in this most recent pullback here. I just didn't get the perfect setup. That was good. I was looking at that, broke down first. But look, it's open for business as far as I'm concerned. It's one of the better trends out there, along with Chainlink's also got a good trend, and Loopring as well. Loopring, if you want to sound fancy, or Loopring.
Loopring.
Yeah.
Loopring, I like that.
Yeah.
It's like Target.
Just depends how you want to say it.
Talking about trading trends, I guess talking about Stellar now. In the announcement of Coinbase, they came out and said they were going to list 5 new tokens. 0x, BAT, Stellar, Zcash, and Cardano. Now, the 5 new coins, 0x has listed.
Yes.
BAT has now listed, so you may assume that XLM or Stellar might be next, and then Zcash, and then Cardano. Obviously, because these are sort of stacked in order, potentially, it could be the way to go. That's not financial advice. XLM is up 10% now this week. An interesting one. Stellar is sort of confused me, I guess, over time, Craig. Do you have any views on Stellar?
It's been super strong this year as far as consolidation's been going. It led Bitcoin a little while ago. I think I talked about that on the show with you, as a matter of fact. Right now, I mean, look, it looks poised on many levels. I mean, if I look at this, let's have a look at the monthly one that doesn't get looked at too often. Notice how we've pulled back into that cradle zone, but we've held. We're still in there. Reality is this: nothing, big dog, pull back, right? We've been consolidating for quite some time. What I like about this chart in particular, higher, low, bullish candle breaking to the upside right now. We break above this level here and we'll have a higher high. It's starting to get some momentum on the daily as well. Now, of course, there's a bit of resistance coming up ahead. That's going to be a test at about 26 cents. But I like it, man. I mean, I do hold some Stellar in my portfolio. It's trending nice on the mids, which is the 4 hour. It's in the top 10, so it's got liquidity, it's got the volume, it's tradable. It's not, this is the Bittrex chart, I don't know why that's there. It's not got, to be honest, XLM USD. If we look at the Bitfinex, the volume's looking a little bit better. Notice how it's a bit gappy through here, so it's not one that I'm trading with leverage yet, but if we go XLM USD and rely on good old buying, not USD, BTC is what I wanted. Rely on good old Binance, you'll see it's very similar chart because remember Bitcoin's been fairly consolidative. Having a look here at this daily, well guess what? We've got even better news here against Bitcoin because we are literally about to break that high, which would put us into an uptrend there on that daily, moving averages in the correct direction. I just really like this token on many different levels, and I do hold it. I'll tell you that. I do own Stellar.
Full disclosure?
Yep, full disclosure. I do own Stellar. The chart's starting to come good. It's starting to get some momentum. If that momentum continues, we may find that this provides us with a fair bit of cream. Because when it moves very well. Even a little move like this back here, that sort of a move, you get a pullback. You can make some serious cream on that sort of stuff because they do move fast. So I like it. On many different levels.
I guess talking about predictions now, Bitcoin predictions are probably one of the hardest things to do, or any cryptocurrency prediction. And we've been making these all throughout the year. I do want to know that they're on the Finder monthly cryptocurrency predictions page. Craig, I believe you aced November, if I'm not mistaken, 6,500. And that's pretty close. It's got to be one of the closest. I think this is the newest one. I think I'm 5,800.
I'm staying at the same level right now.
It seems like, people are sort of, pulled back a bit. There is still a long-term, very bullish sentiment that is out there, right? For the long term, but short term, we seem to be trading downward.
Well, look at that. Look at how that relates to the chart. I mean, let's be honest. Let's look at the weekly. It's exactly the same chart.
Yeah. Incredible.
Over a shorter period of time, though. So if the calendar, I think, starts in April or something like that, March or something. When did but the chart
January,
itself, January. So even from this period through here, it's pretty much the same as what we see on the chart there. And it really is difficult. The predictions thing, everyone should take it as a grain of salt. But it is, it gives you some perspective as to why. I try and write why when I do mine, and, to give an understanding. And right now, Bitcoin's sideways. So to try and predict it moving higher or lower is very difficult. I'll sit smack bang in the middle of my range at 6,500, and hopefully I'm very, very wrong to the upside.
Yep. And you've got your your top at 6,800 and 6,100 at your bottom, which you talked about before on your chart as well.
Yep.
You've got the ETF announcement, you've got Backed coming as well, which will be very, very interesting. Do you think Backed is priced into Bitcoin's price right now?
I think the knowledge of it is, but of course the settlement isn't.
No.
Because you can't settle something that hasn't opened yet. So the settlement of the future, or the contracts going back into Bitcoin, it just depends on how they'll settle. I mean, will that be over the counter? Likely. Will it affect the price of Bitcoin? I don't know. It's going to be interesting, but again, it's regardless of what happens, it's a step in the right direction. And you know what makes me really happy at the moment? People have stopped talking about the fear of, futures contracts expire on this date, therefore everyone panic and freak out. Futures contract expiry mean nothing. In any other market, the only reason they mean something is because people put power behind that meaning. It's not happening anymore. It's lovely to see because it means, okay, cool, we can move along to the next issue and we can resolve that. Yep. And then the next issue and we can resolve that. Yep. So it's never worried me, but it's good to see the rest of the market not reacting to it as well.
Yes, I guess we're just going to look at the Bitcoin Cash prediction here is around 475. So people are predicting it to go up. Which is really interesting.
I wonder if that was ahead of the fork.
Yeah, I think it was. It does look a little bit like it was. Definitely the price is way above what most people have been predicting right now, but we'll see where it ends up, right?
Well, that's right. So this is for December 1st.
Yeah. Which is really interesting. And then you've got the prediction for December 2019 at 731. So everyone is still very
long-term bullish.
Yeah, long-term bullish is as I would say the sentiment seems to be. Yeah, just bring up Stellar. Stellar again, long-term very bullish, but 28 cents. What are we trading at right now? It's at 26 cents.
25, 26.
25, which is you're bang on the money right now. I think I'm saying 18 cents, which is again interesting. But long term, again, everyone very bullish on Stellar.
Yeah, I think it's from my point of view as if I think that Bitcoin's got a long term future, then I think that the rest of the top 10 is probably going to be dragged up. All tides, all rising. What is it? Rising tides raise all ships.
Yep.
So long term, I'm pretty bullish across most of the market. It's just that's long term. I'm not going to put a time frame on long term. Everyone's that I'm speaking to saying within 10 years we're going to see something absolutely insane and a wonderful place to live and be a part of us who are in early. So
100%.
I'm cool to hang around and wait.
Final question, Craig, for today. Everyone's been answering this on. It's going to be on midnight 2018. It's going to turn into New Year's Eve. What is your prediction for, I guess, the price for Bitcoin? I know this is neither here nor there. It's not financial advice. It's merely a speculation, and we're sort of making a nice little vignette for everyone to come together.
All right. Let me give you some. Let's say 7,000.
7,000. There it is. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us, Craig, on the Daily Exchange. As again,
Thanks,
incredible and very valuable advice, guys. Do check out Trader Cobb's courses and do subscribe. Do click the little bell and join us for the Daily Exchange. I'll see you guys tomorrow, guys. Yeah.